What's up guys? Different kind of video on the channel today. Happy New Year, first of all. But before we get into the new year, we're gonna look kind of back at some of the biggest stuff of 2020. I'm just gonna kind of ramble about it. I've got a whiteboard over there with all the stuff I want to talk about written. And also I'm gonna be painting because I wanted to paint today. My 2021 goal, and you guys heard it here first, get close to me. My 2021 goal is I want to manufacture a puzzle about country music that like you will be able to buy. And in order to do that, you need good art about country music. So I'm going to be paying an artist to create sort of a fun image that captures the essence of country music, that's got some of the Texas elements, some of the Nashville elements. Anyway, today I'm going to be painting a really like third grade version of it. It'll be weird. It'll be a weird video. Okay, I'm gonna get started painting this, and while I do that, let's start this 2020 recap. I wanna start in the sales world, where the biggest albums of the year, the top two according to Billboard, were both Luke Combs albums. Then we had Morgan Wallen, then Blake Shelton with a greatest hits record, and then Traveler by Chris Stapleton. And I feel like it's striking that 3 of those top 5 all were released over a year ago, and in Traveler's case, like over 5 years ago, and it's still just killing it. The top songs were all pretty poppy. We had I Hope by Gabby Barrett, then The Bones by Maren Morris, then 10,000 Hours by Dan and Shay. On country radio airplay, it was Chasin' You by Morgan Wallen that was the most played song. After that, Nobody But You with Blake and Gwen, then Kinfolks by Sam Hunt, then After a Few by Travis Denning, and I like that song, but surprised it was that high. But after a few drinks, it's always the same thing. And then what was 5th? Die From a Broken Heart by Maddie and Tay, which was The Little Engine That Could. But also, why the heck have they not announced a new single? That peaked in like August, and we're still waiting on a follow-up single? I just do not understand how they are handled sometimes. The top streaming artists were Morgan Wallen, then Luke Combs, then Danny Shay, Gabby Barrett, Maren Morris. And I know those are all really mainstream, but there were some huge certifications on the indie front this year too. Purgatory by Tyler Childers was certified gold, as were some songs by Cody Jinks and Whiskey Myers, like Stone. What a good song. They say Jesus was a poor man. The year started off relatively normal. There were some new bands on the scene like Gone West, but by the end of the year they had already broken up. The channel was going well. I got Morgan Wallen on here for an interview, which was really cool and proved to be like a good move considering he was sort of the superstar of 2020. But then in February, disaster struck when the tornadoes tore up a lot of Nashville. We ended up doing a live stream here and raising some money for that. That was actually where Upchurch and I buried our kind of beef. A month later was when all of touring shut down for COVID, and I would say coronavirus was probably like the defining story of this year. Back in March, a lot of people were canceling shows at the last minute. People were confused by it. Artists weren't sure what to do with their crew. I remember Zach Brown posting that tearful video where he had to lay off like 90% of his staff.
The people that I traveled with and grew my business with, the people I high five on the way out to the stage, and the people that have done all their jobs and done them well.
A bunch of people were holding out hope, not canceling their tours. In Kenny Chesney's case, he didn't cancel his tour until after the album it was bundled to beat Drake on the chart, which was kind of shady, but also very smart. And then we had that early quarantine phenomenon of every single artist doing multiple live streams per day. When you'd log on Instagram and see like 7 different artists were live. I remember Brad Paisley's were really good. Flatland Cavalry did a bunch that I loved. Thomas Rhett's were surprisingly good, and I loved some of the songwriting he was doing in that, which surprised me. I was personally very excited that Cody Jinks was doing some live streams because I'm always in need of well-lit videos of him, and finally I got those. Justin Moore also had one of my favorite live streams where I believe he was wildly drunk. Give me a Sunday morning, ask for grace. We had a few guests on the channel too. We'd had Jamie Lynn Wilson come on, Gabe Lee did a live stream with us, Ashley McBride did a live interview with us. Oh, and fun little tidbit, this is a big 2020 accomplishment. It was in that interview mentioning that Girl Going Nowhere was no longer on YouTube, her Opry performance of it. I'm sure you can't say anything about it, but I'll just put it out in the world that Opry, bring that back to YouTube. It's a good ad for you and for Ashley.
Is it gone from YouTube?
I couldn't find it. That actually got them to find that performance and get it reinstated onto YouTube, because I think it was taken down as that new network Circle that's owned by the Opry was launching. So we can thank ourselves for that. Some artists were pretty outspokenly against some of the lockdowns. Chris Jansen put out a song about put us back to work. We still got mouths to feed. Whatever happened to being free. And And then Chase Rice, really notably, was one of a bunch of people that played a show, but he kind of got canceled for it online because of this one selfie he took of the crowd. But at the same time, I could see why he'd be so excited to be back up on stage. Okay, now I'm going to try and fill in this whole shelf right here. Early quarantine was kind of fun. We were all getting on TikTok, which definitely established itself as the preeminent way of promoting music this year. Cody Johnson's Diamond in My Pocket was one country song that resurrected back into relevance thanks to TikTok. And we were all watching Tiger King because it was fascinating, and funnily enough, Joe Exotic had a little country career where he didn't even end up being the real singer for these songs, but I certainly listened to them for like 2 days straight. That was one of my favorite videos this year, reviewing his music. And then there were other virtual performances that kind of became normal as the year went on. The ACMs had that sing-along where Shania Twain was singing and that horse just basically got in the way of the frame for the whole performance.
The best thing about being a woman.
The ACMs also had that socially distant ceremony where Thomas Rhett and Carrie Underwood theoretically were the two winners of the same Entertainer of the Year award, which everyone gave a side-eye to. That was also where Taylor Swift kind of officially reassociated with country music by playing Betty there. And sidebar, I was looking for a YouTube video, the full version of a pop-punk cover of Betty that I saw on TikTok, and I noticed that they've gotten rid of all comments on all auto-generated art tracks on YouTube, and I hate that move. Like, I love reading the comments of those videos and where people found them, and I'm sure artists do too, so I hate that. We lost a lot of country artists this year, some due to COVID, some it was just a related issue, some not from COVID at all, but Charlie Pride, John Prine, Kenny Rogers, Joe Diffie, Charlie Daniels, Gene Shepard, Billy Joe Shaver, I mean, so many others. And it was a freaking sad year for like iconic country legends passing away. The summer stayed pretty heavy with all of the protests and riots following George Floyd. Country artists responded in different ways. Mickey Guyton put out a song called Black Like Me, reflecting on her identity. Then Kane Brown put out a song called Worldwide Beautiful at the same time that was saying, don't see everything just in black and white. I always thought that was interesting that they kind of had diametrically opposed messages in those songs. Tyler Childers put out Long Violent History and an accompanying video explaining why he was reflecting on police violence and also announcing that he'd gotten sober. Lady Antebellum changed their name to Lady A, which ended up biting them in the butt. The Dixie Chicks also took Dixie out of their name and now just go by the Chicks, although that was not nearly as big of a piece of discussion, especially because everyone was trying to figure out the mystery of what happened on Natalie Maines' boat, which really drove that whole Gaslighter album's narrative.
And you can tell the girl who left her tights on my boat that she can have you now.
That was not the only relationship drama that was out there in the country world this year. We had Casey Musgraves splitting from her husband Rustin Kelly. We had Carly Pearce and Michael Ray splitting. But then there were a lot of weddings and stuff that happened this year. Luke Combs got married, John Party got married, Cleto Cordero and Caitlin Butts out of the Texas scene, they got married. As fall rolled around, Garth Brooks released that video where he said he was taking himself out of the running from being the Entertainer of the Year, following the backlash from him winning the CMA Entertainer of the Year. And whether that had anything to do with it or not, it ended up resulting in a new Entertainer of the Year. This time, Eric Church won the award at the ceremony. And we actually had our own little CMA awards with the Country Music Stuff subreddit, and that was super fun, and some of the artists actually responded to their wins. Okay, let me show you where I'm at on this. I have added a band. So we've got this fiddle player with unintentionally beefy thighs and this drummer. And here's what the bar is looking like. This is going to be the Texas side of things. And I tried to add maybe, I don't know, like a few little cameos in there. So I figured Morgan Wallen was pretty recognizable. It was also appropriate to paint Morgan because one of the big stories of the year was him getting invited and then uninvited to Saturday Night Live after all these videos surfaced of him kissing these girls down in Alabama sororities. Between that and the arrest early in quarantine and his son being born with his now ex, he was kind of a huge tabloid fixture, and it was definitely the year he went from star to superstar. And if that new song of his, Living the Dream, is any indication, it has not been an easy ride. The only other real late fall story I would say was just Chris Stapleton finally releasing, I'd say, a worthy successor follow-up to Traveler, and Starting Over is going to be a legendary album. I feel like it's going to have hits all through 2021. When it comes to my own highlights for the year, I would say Moving In on my own has been awesome, although definitely an adjustment. I'd say the channel Passing 100,000 back in February was awesome, and now sometime in the next week probably we'll pass 150,000, which is really cool. The top 3 videos on the channel this year were 10 country artists that just sort of disappeared. That's pushing like 1 million views, and I guess people are curious about some of their favorites that left. Then we had 10 country one-hit wonders, so again, people like the obscure stuff. And then every country song has these lyrics, right? And I'm so thankful that that video took off because it's definitely the most work I've ever put into a video. And originally it didn't do that well. And I was like, damn. And it was really fun using some of those lyrics and making a little yeah. So thanks for all the love on those. In 2021, I want to keep growing the channel. I want to keep taking chances. I don't want to get stuck in formats that aren't working. And I want to feel the freedom to try different stuff. That's even kind of why I'm shooting this like this. It's like, let's start the year off doing what you want. I also want to continue to put out cool merch that I think actually adds something and it's not just a money grab. And like I said, with cool merch, I want to get a puzzle made and manufactured. I have felt like a secret agent the last few weeks, calling different companies, figuring out how do you get this made. I feel like this is a slam dunk idea when it comes to merch for a YouTuber. If you can get cool art and get it printed on a puzzle, y'all probably don't know this, I own like 50 puzzles. Well, if you follow me on Instagram, you definitely know this. But anyway, this is just something I really want to get done, and I want it to be the essence of country music in a puzzle. So I have some other goals. Some are like really ambitious. You know, one day I want to get The Rock on this channel talking about his favorite country music. I know he has a farm in Virginia, and so I'm like, dude, we should link up, but you know, how the hell do you make that happen? I feel like it's easier to get a puzzle made than to get that to happen. But most of all, I just want to continue to love country music with you guys. I think it's really fun to be a fan when I have y'all to talk about stuff with. And I don't really know how to end this video, so I guess I will just record whatever is left of me painting this tonight and then show you where I got to, and we'll be done, okay? It's been 2 days since I filmed the rest of the stuff, and I realized I've not been filming myself paint. So, things have really evolved. If you follow me on Instagram, you've seen all of it. But currently, it's basically a bunch of Nashville stars in a Texas honky-tonk. So the ceiling took me forever. But I just like the idea of it's like displaced country stars, and they're in this honky-tonk. So there's Morgan. There's Luke drinking one too many. Here's other Luke Bryan, singing Country Girl, Shake It For Me. I'm sure you guys can recognize this. This is a guy showing a girl some beach bong tramp how to shoot a combo, and Carrie with her Louisville Slugger in the background. I haven't finished like the band yet. There's going to be a bunch of other people. I know I got to do Darius Rucker, got to put more people in the band. Gonna have a merch table down here. I got a funny idea for this corner, but I don't know if I'm gonna do it yet. Here's some of the drink specials: the Red Dirt Rita, Amarillo by Moonshine, Taboo, Turnpike, Long White Lime. I know Sturgill's not Texas, but I thought it was funny. And then a Rum and Co. Look at that little Flatland album. Matching that guy up there. Anyway, I'm really excited with how it's turning out. I am impressing myself, so there's the update. I'm like in a manic creative state. I've been doing this for days, but I'm having